Famously Unfamous. Famously Unfamous? What is famously unfamous? You ever ask somebody, what legacy do you want to leave on this earth after you're gone? Do you just want to merely exist, or do you really want to make an influence and an impact on the communities that you serve? So that, in turn, is what makes you famously unfamous. You're not specifically entertained with the idea of being just famous, but you're intentional about making an impact in the communities that you serve, thereby leaving a legacy that will ultimately create fame for you. Famously Unfamous. That's who we talk to on this show. Famously Unfamous. Become a person of influence more than you want to become a person of fame. That's it. All right, what's going on, guys? This is another episode of Famously Unfamous. I am that man Channing, and I have the pleasure of having a awesome woman on the show with us today. We're going to talk about her life, what's going on with her, and some exciting information that she has that she's been able to use in her personal life that has helped make her way more financially free than she has been before. But before we get into that, we're going to get some background on her. But welcome to the show, April Wesley. What's going on, April?
Thank you. I appreciate the welcome as always.
Absolutely,
I'm excited to be here today.
Definitely. Super pumped up about this. For most of you guys that don't know, I've talked to April in the past, and she's the author of 2 books, Queenship Restored and Severing Soul Ties. There has been great buzz about these books all over the country. A year or 2 back or so, she did a tour. People were blessed by it. They were uplifted by it, and it actually helped them out. And, you know, the great thing about it is I saw April pre-books, before she had books, and then after she had books. And just that maturation process is amazing. I'm always happy to see that. And just that really just using your gifts and your talents and working into what you have and it becoming a blessing to other people is just amazing. So for those who don't know what those books are, and where to get them, just tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so as Channing mentioned, I am the author of 2 books. The first one, Queenship Restored, basically just speaks about how in society, especially with women, there's so much push against a push for women being these bosses and boss chicks and being in control. And my goal with the book and what God was really calling for me to do was to bring the attention to women being queens, not just bosses, but actual queens. And I referenced several queens in the Bible, some good, some bad, just explaining how if we strive for our queenship, we're really under what God has taught for us to be, which is in control, but being in control and submitted to His will for our lives. So whether that be, a wife, a mother, a business, a woman, whatever it is, having the end goal be for the betterment of families and communities and this world in general. We're supposed to be light to this world, and so I think with the whole boss chick movement and the alpha woman movement and all these other things that's really out for self, I just felt led to write a book that put godly order in a woman's life, for her to be powerful, but also to be most importantly fruitful for communities and families. So that's what that one's about. And then for Severing Soul Ties is exactly what the title says. Basically, it addresses all different types of soul ties. There are godly soul ties and there are ungodly soul ties. So basically, it addresses those different types and different situations, or whether it be in family situations, whether it be in romantic relationships, whether it be to things, whether it to be, there's so many different types of soul ties. But basically, it calls for you to recognize the many soul ties in your life, label them, and give them to God, and go through a process of severing those ties if they are ungodly and you know they need to be out of your life. So it really goes through a whole process of identifying soul ties and labeling, and actually giving a definition of what they are, showing the different types of soul ties and how to sever them, basically how to get them out of your life, so that you can live a life that's purposed for God and not full of junk or distractions or whatever else the enemy will try to use to put an ungodly soul tie in your life to misdirect you from the will of God. So that's pretty much what those two are about.
Yes. So go get the books. And you can get them.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And you also asked where to get them from, and they're on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I mean, you can literally Google the books, so Queenship Restored and Severing Soul Ties. They're also on my website, queenshiprestored.com.
Absolutely. And we'll have a link to the website on the description for this show, so you guys can go out there and get them for your queens, guys, and for anybody. You can read Severing Soul Ties because it's applicable to everybody, not just women. So that's awesome. So now, as we look out from there, you've written books, you went on the tours, you developed a connection with your audience specifically. You're changing your quote unquote community around you by allowing women to come in, talk about their issues with severing soul ties, but also get in right alignment with God through an example of different women in the Bible through Queenship Restored. But there's something bigger that happened for you after that process. So take us from the end of the end of your tour a year or so back, and take us through that process of what's changed and how it changed through you through your new venture.
Yeah, so it's so interesting. So just as you mentioned, Channing, last year in 2017, probably in April, I had just knew that I had needed to kind of do a formal launch for Queenship Restored. I hadn't done that yet, and I released Severing Soul Ties in March of 2017. And during that time, like, I was preparing for this launch, and God kind of put it in my thought process that I needed to do an actual tour for this book. Like, this book was way bigger than what I really anticipated, per se. Just, thinking about it in a smaller lens, and he's like, you need to get this out there. You need to speak to the people. You need to allow people to come to these events and really kind of pour out and have community and to really discuss these topics. So I was like, okay, cool. I totally understand that. I really didn't know how I was going to organize all of that and what that looked like, but God really made a way with just providing resources and people that came out of woodwork offering spaces for people to come in and to meet. I mean, these were nice spaces. Some were like art exhibit spaces. Some were really nice, just boutique type event spaces. Most of it, I probably only paid for one space, all in all in 2017. But literally in the midst, really, it was in my second and third stop. The Thursday before Father's Day, which was on a Sunday, got a phone call at my job. I was planning to leave for my first on the road tour stop, which was Houston, that Friday. So on Thursday, I get a phone call at my job from my aunt saying that my dad was found dead at his home. And I mean, obviously, as anybody could imagine, everybody has a different response to death, to be honest, but I was just kind of in disbelief. And what made it so staggering was the fact that it was the Thursday before Father's Day.
Wow.
It was just a mess. It was just like, what is going on with my life? I'm like, Lord, I know that you told me to do this tour, and I know the world should be going this weekend, but it was crazy because on Houston, I had my tour stop on Saturday, and on that Sunday, I was going to be in Dallas, where, I was born and raised, and where, me and my father spent the majority of our time together was in Dallas on Father's Day. So wow. It was absolutely crazy. And so by the grace of God, I got to those tour stops. Everything went really well. And that following Friday, which was the Friday after Father's Day, we memorialized him. Everything went well there. I actually had a friend that, and this story is so crazy, and a lot of people don't know about this story, but I had a friend who got married that following Saturday, so I was so happy to be, I was in Texas again for the memorial services, and I drove with my cousin to Houston where her wedding was, and, enjoyed her wedding, had a good time, but at that wedding, I just knew there were so many just culminating emotions at that point. So it's like, okay, God, like, I know you're doing a major thing in my life. Like, you have Severing Soul Ties going, you have this book tour going, things are going well in my career. There's so many different parts of this that's going well in my life, but now I'm at a wedding. Truth be told, at the wedding, a girl that we used to all hang together, not just my friend who was getting married, but this other girl pulled up with her brand new fiance from the night before. And it was just like, God, like, all of this stuff is happening, but, I still desire to have a family one day. I still desire to have a partner one day. Like, what is going on with my life? Like, everything just seems like it's just coming down in shambles. And so I really didn't, after the wedding, I had a great time at the reception. But when I got home, I just really finally broke down and just cried. And I just cried to God about what was going on in my life, and just this was just too much, and just what was going on.
Right.
And that morning, that Sunday morning, I woke up and God pretty much showed me, like, he basically, for some reason I started watching a series about men that had different jail experiences and just how they survived being in jail. So, which I thought was very interesting. I'm like, God, why am I watching this? Like, I need to be at church or something. Like, what am I doing? But, like, I was in Houston, my old stuff is ground, so I was just like, let me get myself together. Me and some friends were planning to go to our alma mater later on that day and just to hang out, that's in College Station, Texas, so about an hour away from Houston. And I'm just like, why am I watching this? Like, my life is just in shambles. And God immediately said, yes, your life is somewhat in shambles, and the reason you're watching this is because you are in jail. And
wow.
I'm like, what are you talking about? And he was like, you're in jail, you're in debt, and you cannot be what you need to be for a husband or for any children when you continue to have the habits, the poor spending habits that you have, and you are in debt, and you're going to bring these same habits and this lifestyle to your family if you continue on with it, and I'm not going to allow it.
Whoa.
I mean, when you get a shutdown like that,
wow,
you have to. It's something about you as a person that changes, and that's exactly what happened. So literally the next day, I started listening to a podcast. The podcast was Kissing Her Money, and I literally listened throughout my plane ride home, throughout my waiting time at the airport, and that's been going on for the past year, almost a year and whatever, like probably 13, 14 months now, that I've like pretty much religiously listened to as much personal finance resources as possible, and that was the marker of changing my mindset towards everything about finances. And I mean, you can ask another question after this, but that was my transcending moment to where I am now in pursuing what I'm doing with personal finances.
Wow. That's a lot. I mean, yeah. I mean, just to give people a little clarity. So what is it that you say you went to Texas A&M, College Station? What did you get your degree in? What is your profession?
Yes. So went to Texas A&M. for 4 years, double majored there, and then left there and went to UTMB, University of Texas Medical Branch at Galveston. That's where I received my physical therapy degree. So I got my doctorate of physical therapy there. And I am a physical therapist. I'm actually a neurologic physical therapist. I'm a physical therapist that treats primarily injuries or diagnoses that stem from trauma or different medical events of the nervous system. So I primarily see patients who have had a stroke or different types of brain injuries, whether it's a traumatic brain injury or what they call acquired brain injury. So that's pretty much what I do every single day. My goal, and I believe it's a God-given gift for me to help people to improve their function and get back to normal life from post having a traumatic event or a acquired event to their brain.
Wow.
So it's really fulfilling, but it's super fulfilling. But with that, as you can imagine, I acquired a significant amount of debt. And I don't know if it's okay for me to kind of start going into that, Channing.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. Go right ahead.
Okay, so yeah, as you can imagine, so there is this huge debt crisis, and I don't want to start going too far on a tangent, but so many people, especially, I see this very consistent in the African American community or the Black community, however you want to identify yourself. And mostly, and I won't even just say they're just the minority community where our generation, so if you're pretty much 35 or I would say even 40 and under, you probably come from parents who really push you to go to college, if at all possible. But even in their desire for wanting their children to be in a better place, they really weren't in a position financially to help. And what I mean by help is to pay for college or to pay a significant portion of college. A lot of people relied on student loans to get through college and to pay for college.
Right.
Not only was that an issue, many of us were never even taught how to manage finances because the primary source, our parents, never learned how to manage personal finances.
Right.
So we have two different seclusions here that are going on that have put us and I would say, millennials, these are older than millennials because I'm like an old, decrepit millennial, but because I'm 31. But, like I said, 40 and under, most of us do not and have not learned how to manage money. And it has become a huge crisis in our personal finances, no matter how much you make. I mean, there are stories where people are neurosurgeons. We're talking about 40 and under making $900,000 a year, but having to go to the credit union once a month or once a quarter to try to take out another loan because their living expenses are super high. Wow. And they can't even keep up with their lifestyle because that's how much money they're floating out there. So it doesn't matter how much money you make. It's all about how you manage it. And that's what I believe God has shown me in the past year, is how to actually now learn how to manage money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's, in that essence, it's just being a good steward over your finances. And of course, if just in reality, if you're not a good steward over your money, if you're not very, not watchful, but very understanding of how money works, anything like that, just in a natural sense, you can't go to the bank and get a loan because they need to see that you were a good steward over your money before they give you any money. And if you're not, you're not getting anything from them. So it's all encompassing. It does affect every area of your lifestyle in general. Mm-hmm. So, like you said, in the minority community, we didn't get that understanding or that clarity because our parents never had that clarity because their parents never had that clarity. So what you don't know, you can't teach. And even in this, it's like, great, they wanted us to do better. So we did better. We got the degree. We got better jobs and better opportunities than they did. But because of the mindset, we still ended up maybe in the same places that they ended up in financially because there was no information. But I wanted to circle back to how you got to that point, which is, you said you were watching the show. It was about men in prison, things like that. And then you got that understanding, that revelation that that's what you were in financially, prison. So in that moment, you said you started listening on the plane ride back. You started listening to his and her podcast, money podcast, and different other information about finances. Would you say that you're a type of person who, when the light comes on, it comes on? You don't really need a primer to like be convinced? Or was it just that situation in general where you were like, I see it for what it is, I'm gonna automatically make that mental shift? That's what I'm getting at, that mental shift.
Yeah, I think that I am that type of person. The thing is, I just believe in being obedient immediately, and I believe when you receive a revelation, you should act on it immediately, because it's like the proof is in the pudding. And in that case, also what I didn't mention is the fact that when he passed away, I didn't even have the money. Like, basically my family needed like $1,000 or something for the portion, because we were going to split the cost. And for the portion I had to come up with was $1,000, and I didn't even have that. And it's like, how do I make decent money? How am I, in my chosen career field, and I don't even have $1,000 to give for this emergent situation, because I didn't even have an emergency fund set up. I was literally living paycheck to paycheck, having no plan for my money. And so it was like the proof was all the way in the pudding. So I had already memorialized my dad that Friday. I got this revelation on Sunday morning, and the proof was in the pudding. You didn't have April, you didn't have any money to even bury him.
Right.
So you clearly need to make a change. And I think that revelation usually has backing. Like, when you have revelation about something, it's because in the past there have been circumstances that were in need of the revelation for change.
Right.
That's exactly the situation I was in, is that I needed change. And so I guess it's a mixture of the two things. It's like, having that insight, having that input, all that helped to support the need for change. But the revelation, anytime I receive true found revelation like that, I have to hop on it, because it doesn't happen by happenstance. Nothing happens by happenstance, but certainly something to that caliber that not only affects me as a person, but has the potential to affect future generations. That's nothing to play with.
Right.
And I feel like all too often we have information that can affect or improve not just ourselves, but people that come behind us, and we take it for granted. It becomes a myth, and we have to stop that. Like, that it's ridiculous.
Absolutely. I firmly believe in that. I hadn't always been a great activator in doing it, but like you said, with me, I'm older than you, so the older you get, you do actually believe in that, because you're like, okay, this is crazy. Something has to change, because you have enough past to justify why there is a need for change.
Right.
But in your moving forward, now that you're in it, take us to that point to where, okay, now I got off the plane. I listened to the podcast. I got education on it. Where do I start? I'm at ground zero. This is what it is. This is what I see needs to change. I'm ready. I mentally made that shift. Now it's time to physically put in the work. Where does that start for April?
Yeah, physically putting in the work was, I had gotten so much information from these podcasts, and what's most popular for anybody who's just now starting out with paying off debt is usually the Dave Ramsey Baby Steps program. But I had heard about them. I knew about them. People were talking about them on different podcasts. Even with His and Her Money, people use those steps. But I was so broke at that point that I couldn't even afford to buy the book to get the steps.
Wow.
So what I did was I went to Barnes & Noble and read the book.
Right.
And wrote down the steps and put it right back on the shelf. And I promised the book and Dave Ramsey that I would be back to purchase it.
Hey, I've been there.
Like,
been there.
It was that serious. It was that serious. And so where it turned out was, which anybody could make a budget, but a lot of us just choose not to. You write down, especially if you get paid every 2 weeks, you write down how much you get paid. And then you write down the bills that need to be paid by a certain paycheck. And then from there, okay, you know your bills have to get paid. You need shelter. You need, first of all, you need food. You need shelter. You need to have utilities on. All these stuff. These are mainstay things. But I oftentimes would look at my shelter first and then say, oh, the food and the gas and all that will come thereafter. Now, most people will say don't do that, but I'm like, I need a place to stay. Like, that's going to be priority. Like, if I have to walk, I have to walk. And if I have to eat right, I'm just going to eat right. But I'm going to pay, my utilities and my, rent. I have mortgage, but if you have rent, pay that first, whatever. That's just how I thought about it. Right. So sometimes I only had, for a 2-week time period, I would have maybe $80 at best for my food, and at that time, I still probably had to put $80 to $90 back for gas, just because that's just how much it takes with my truck that I had at the time. So that's where I started. So that literally means cutting out no hair getting done, no nails getting done, no, just any and everything that could get cut out aside from my basic needs, that got cut out. And to be able to pay off, at that point I had so many different debts that I'm paying the minimum payments and all that. So by the time that I paid everything on time, including my debt, and ate and had gas, I was wiping out every paycheck.
Wow.
Like, clear out. And so what I had to do, and so the first step of the baby step is to get $1,000 emergency fund. So I was literally scrapping money from each paycheck, trying to get any little excess to build up the $1,000 emergency fund. And from there, they teach you how to do the snowball, where you list your debt, smallest to largest, and you basically start attacking the debt smallest to largest, and roll each debt into the next debt, and so on and so forth. And I'm not really describing this the best, but like the Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey describes the whole process. And if you don't have any money, like I didn't at one point, go to Barnes and Noble and read the book and get the steps at least. And then when you get a little change, go ahead and work that into your budget and buy it straight from his company. You're still supporting, but you just need that information early on so you can get to the point of buying the book.
Exactly. And that's such a great point that you put up there, that the information is out there, and you just expressed the key element, which is desire. So you desire to get the information at any cost. So you went in, you spent the time in the store to read the book and write down the information you needed, where that you automatically eliminated that excuse. And I think that in that context, that's honored and that's appreciated because it shows the desire. Whereas a person who's full of excuses just says, I can't afford to get it, so I can't do it. So, right. Key point right there. Right. Now, after you went through that, and I guess, you were eating rice or whatever, you were doing what you had to do. The mindset that says, I need to change, while you were on the airplane, while you got the revelation, so you started listening, how does the how does the mindset change or stay the same, however you want to phrase it, when you are eliminating or killing the things that you want? Like, I desire the shoes or the bag like I used to, but I have to stay disciplined. How do you keep yourself, I guess, encouraged in it or motivated in it, or how did it work for you?
I think it's a maturity thing, number one. And, God had already been severing soul ties and chapters by happenstance. Like, these were issues that needed to be addressed that not only affect people, individuals, but has the potential to affect generations. Because likely, especially with ungodly soul ties, you got that from your parents before you. A lot of time in a lot of different situations, or the mindset of thinking, you got that from somebody else that was older than you or raised you or whatever. And so I had already become more so legacy minded than I was, 5 years prior, 2 years prior, 3 years prior. And so this just kind of, it rolled in, just even in agreement with those things, although it wasn't something that I specifically addressed in the book, but it was in such agreement because this has the potential to change, like the quote with April Wesley is always changing your family tree. This has the potential to change everything about my family dynamic.
Right.
This gives me the opportunity, as Proverbs speaks about, is that a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children.
Right. And
how was I going to leave an inheritance for them when I couldn't even manage what I had personally? And so it was so biblical. It was so clear to me that it was necessary. And so there was really it was almost life or death to me, because it was like either I was already living in death when I didn't even realize it, because nothing fruitful was coming from my life when I was mismanaging the resources God had given to me. And the only way to receive life through it and to be able to produce and have an inheritance for my children's children was to straighten up my ways and use the resources that had been freely given to me through podcasts and, even Googling information. I have the resources. There's almost every resource at our fingertips. Even if I had to YouTube with the baby steps, where they talk about them on YouTube, like the information was there. We find ways to do whatever we want to do. That's the thing about this age. We can do whatever we want to do. Right. But it's a matter, like you said, a desire to do it and being consistent in doing so, because you know the importance behind it.
Wow. So, I mean, this is a far jump. And maybe I'm going down the rabbit trail, but if you don't know, I do know April personally. So she moved from Texas to Atlanta like several years ago. I forget how long ago. But do you feel like
it'll be 4 this year?
4 years ago. Okay, so do you feel like at any point that you needed to move to find this, or could you have found it in Texas?
Oh yeah, no. Let me tell you, it is. Look, it is just so paramount to know God and to hear God and to stay consistent in your walk with God. And when I say consistent, that does not mean perfect at all. Uh-huh. But just having a desire to do as He says, because the thing is, you don't know what is on the other side of your obedience. And had I not come to Atlanta, none of this stuff would have happened. I guarantee you that. So the books would not have been written. This revelation about my finances would have never happened. Because the thing is, which there's going to have to be another podcast at some point talking about this next step that I'm about to do. So I can't reveal it now. I just can't do it. But,
okay.
When I first moved to Atlanta, God showed me that He told me that I was on top of my house. I'm like, with what money, Lord? See, you asking for all this stuff, and I ain't got no money. Like, what you talking about? And basically, I was able to get some money, was able to put a down payment on the house, got this house, whatever. And I'll just say it. So I'm in a plan now of selling the house, because the house has so much equity that it could wipe out a significant amount of my debt.
Wow.
But had I not been obedient and came here, this setup would have never happened. This whole thing, none of this would have ever happened. Nothing. So I would have been still rolling in all kinds of debt, because these interest rates are no joke.
Right.
And had I not started to see the light last year, I would have never been able to see the setup for this year and all the more that's coming after that. I don't know what's on the other side of all this. But what I do know is that God has a plan, and He should sometimes wait for us to be obedient so He can really give us everything that He has for us.
Wow. So, I mean, there you have it. It's almost like seed time and harvest. I mean, you don't really see it when you're planting, and then you have to keep yourself encouraged while you're waiting, for things to sprout up. But even in the harvest, sometimes what you think is harvest really ain't the harvest that you expected from what you planted. So, it's like, oh, I'm on this path of debt freedom. Now I have to be disciplined. Now I have to do this. Now I have to do that. And all the while you're doing it, you realize I got equity in my house. So bam. And it's like, what? So, I mean, that's amazing. That is an amazing story to further emphasize that, there are a lot of people out there that just don't know why, or feel like they don't know why they're doing what they're doing for God. If kind of feel alone, abandoned, or whatever, but just know that it's always with your best interest in mind. In the end. But back there, I know I took it down a rabbit trail, but that's okay. We're good. Now, you have all this information, from that time to now. What, if you don't mind me asking, how much debt have you been able to pay off during doing this program for yourself?
It's been about $55,000, 12 months or 13 months.
Woo. That's a lot of money for one person, for a single person. That's a lot of money in debt.
Yeah. So so I just want to be clear on that. $27,500 came with the selling of my truck. And so with that being said, I do have a vehicle now, but I rode the bus after selling my truck. So basically, I was upside down on my truck. My truck was only worth about $27,500 from like public sale. For private sale, I probably could have got like $29,500 something, but I really wasn't getting any takers from private sale. So I sold it actually back to the dealership that I purchased it from, the dealership owners that I purchased it from. But I was still $6,000 in debt from that. Just being upside down on the car, because we all know that vehicles depreciate like crazy.
Right.
So I had to pay that $6,000 down in order to get completely out of the truck, which now looks like a paid off truck on my credit. But I didn't, because I had to pay so much down to basically clear my debt to that truck, that wiped out any potential monies that I was wanting to put aside to buy a cash car, because that was my goal, is to no longer have any car notes, but to have a cash car.
Okay.
But I had to literally work for the cash car, as in save money to buy the cash car, which it took me around a couple of months to save about really between $3,800 to $4,200. But I rode the bus that entire time. So, that was a whole other experience. I had never rode this probably sounds really bougie, but I had never rode the bus in the States. I only rode public transportation when I was out of the country. So it was like a whole different experience. But I mean, honestly, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And, this is the thing. These processes are never easy. But when you're around the right people will support you. They may be like, I don't know about that at first, but when they see the progress being made, it makes them believers no matter what. And so that's really what happened with my process. The people that were supposed to believe in it and were there to support me, they checked up on me. They made sure, they would talk to me on FaceTime at the bus stops. They would whatever. And I mean, I did this for 2 months. And was it easy? No. But was it necessary? Yes.
Wow. And I mean, at the end of the day, we have Uber, Lyft. You have ways to do it. If you're serious about it, here again, there's no excuse for it if you're on this path. So, even still, over $50,000 in 12 months is a lot, especially for a single person, to pay off debt. So that is amazing. Now, once you got to this point, you have a new program that you've created. Why don't you give us a little information about that?
Right. So in the process, so really just maybe months. I've been in this process like 13, 14 months now. Probably within months. So probably 3 months in, to me, just paying off debt, people just, like, I was talking about it, I guess, and people just like, you know what, I really feel like you can help me. And that's what I started doing. So I started consulting with people. One couple that I was working with, they ended up paying off, I think it was $15,000 within like 5 months.
Wow.
We haven't done a recheck in a while, so I really need to recheck with them. But I mean, from single people to married people, I just started consulting with people, and they're like, you know what, you really need to be charging for this. Like, you really need to make this a business. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm just helping out friends, blah, blah, blah. But I really started seeing the benefit. You know, I feel like, especially in our society, we pay for anything that we really want. And I believe that God has really put a desire on people's hearts to become more organized, especially in their finances. And I feel like with what I started, which is called RAIN, REIGN, RAIN of budget curation. So that is what is provided with RAIN is budget curation, basically curating or developing budgets for people so that they can actually live and have order and to achieve their financial goals. For some people, it might be debt repayment. For some people, they want to be able to retire early and go see the world. For some people, they even if they pay off their debt, some people are just like, you know what, I want to be able to set myself up so I can go and travel for a year and then come back to the workplace. Whatever your financial goals are, it needs to happen with a plan, and that's what a budget is, a plan for your money. So those are the services I provide. I consult people. I have 45-minute sessions. I have a 75-minute session, and we literally go through all of your finances, so how much you bring in, and all of your bills, all of your debt, and we create plans, or we curate plans that are to achieve your financial goals, whatever that looks like.
Wow. So you can find more information about that at queenshiprestored.com. Is that correct?
Yes. And you click the tab RAIN Budget Curation.
There you go. So we'll have that link in our bio as well for this show for everybody who's trying to get their money right, especially before the holidays. Yeah. So let's get control of that before the holidays, so you won't have to suffer in January, like so many of us do. But just to wrap this up, April, has been so eye-opening, and it's a blessing to so many people. What, if anything, is a great piece of advice that you could tell someone that's in a financial state like you were? What information can you give to them?
I would say start with a simple plan. As I said before, like the Dave Ramsey's baby steps, it's so simple. It's straightforward. Start with a plan. Because I feel like people say, well, so much information out there, and I just get confused. I just told you it's just a plan. Like, just do it.
Right.
And I that's probably the most simple, piece of advice. Just do it. Like Nike said. I know I'm doing so much brand. It's a technical word called brand. I forgot what it's called, but basically giving you all these brands. But it's true, and those brands work because they work, and what they say are true. And so I think stop the excuses. So many of us have made so many excuses. And look, there is a legacy on the line. If you sometimes wonder why you have not received the blessings, quote unquote, that God has for you and the promises, that He has for you, sometimes we need to take back responsibility. Sometimes we need to self-reflect and see what is the God that I am doing wrong or that I can do better. And I guarantee you, He will show you. Because this is the thing, it's not that God doesn't want to bless you, but He's also not here to bless no mess. And a lot of us are in messy situations that we brought upon ourselves, and now we're looking for God to do this genie in the bottle miracle, and He's not like that. Now, can He do it? Absolutely. But He wants you to be responsible so that you can then handle the next thing that is so much more bigger than what you currently have. But He's not going to give it to you until you manage the resources He's already given to you. And one wise woman told me a long time ago, she said, baby, everything you need is already in the storehouse. And so I take that even to this day. She told me that about 6 years ago, but to this day, I believe in that everything you need is already in the storehouse. And what that means is that Every resource that you need, you already have. God has already given you. So whether that be eyes to read a book, whether that be ears to hear a podcast, or to get information, many of us are super intelligent people. We need to utilize the resources we have and make a change and stop making excuses, because God's not here for it.
There you go. There you go. Get our lives all the way together. There you go. So, there's really nothing else to be said after that. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So guys, check out her story, her website, queenshiprestored.com. Again, that's queenshiprestored.com. You can get books, information, and also financial understanding to help you center and get control of your finances as well. For April Wesley, I am That Man Channing, and we are out of here.